Penn and Teller have been duped once already. Let's see if we can mess with them again. Here comes our next fooler.
私はスティーブ・マーシャルと申します。はじめまして。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Well, basically, my college years, I was traveling, living on a circus train. I really learned how to juggle in clown college, and I still juggle in my show all the time. I decided to move to Japan, and I expected to be there 2 years, and it's been 19 years now. Almost 30 years ago, I saw this thing called dice stacking. There was this man named Jim Zachary, and I was just blown away. Jim and I became good friends over the years, and he taught me. I spent many nights at his dining room table, stacking dice, right? My performance tonight has become a tribute to him, this amazing genius who really popularized this art.
From Florida via Japan. Whoa, he needs a new travel agent. Here is Steve Marshall.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Steve, and I have a problem. Well, it's not really a problem. It's more like an obsession. See, ever since I was a kid, I've been fascinated by dice. Dice magic, dice tricks, dice games, diced ham. You get the picture. As a matter of fact, one of my fondest memories as a kid was playing a dice game out in the schoolyard. It was a simple game. 4 dice and a dice cup. We'd shake it up, roll out the dice, and add up the total that was showing on the tops of the dice. Whoever had the lowest score was the winner. Sometimes we'd even bet our lunch money. On days like these, I usually went hungry. That's because there was this one kid, Raymond. And Raymond was, how can I put this nicely? Raymond was a dirty, rotten, filthy cheater. See, when we roll the dice, we'd roll them like that. But Raymond would turn the cup upside down and shake them like this. We thought that was cool. But what we didn't know was that Raymond was actually stacking the dice up so we could only see the number on the top. And he would always win. Well, I had a talk with Raymond. Turned out this was a thing called dice stacking. Who knew it was a thing? Now, one time, he decided to show off. And he asked me a question. I'm going to let somebody else help out today. Sir, right here with a beard, name a color, quick.
Green.
Raymond's favorite color was blue, but you were so close. See? But it gave him a different color die. And he would stack them up like this. Now, this is position 1, this is number 2, this is position 3, and number 4. Which position would you like the blue die to be in? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
2.
2. The most difficult position of all. Number 2. He would actually show off by raising the cup in the air. Call the number on top. Oh, thank you. No, it's okay. Number 2, watch. Watch. In the air. Watch. Not only is it number 2, but the number 6 is the top number. Watch. Position 2, and the number 6 is on top. And that was my introduction to dice stacking. Thank you. Well, that was the way Raymond did it. But I wanted to learn myself how to do it. So I ran right home, and I didn't have a fancy dice cup. I didn't have some fancy dice. All I had was a juice can. And I cut the bottom out of the can. You can do this yourself at home. Drink the juice first. Trust me on this one. And I only had 2 dice in a game. So what I did was I cut the dice in half. And this gave me these little tiny half dice pieces. Now, what was good about that was that they would stack up lower, giving me a smaller, lower center of gravity. This made things much easier to practice. Now, it's all in the wrist. Now, stacking dice is a lot like falling off a building. It's not the speed that gets you, it's that sudden stop at the end. The nice thing about this was there's a hole in the top of the can, so you can check to make sure they're stacked up. Remember I told you that was the easy way to stack them, the small way. Who knew that it would also be the most difficult way to stack them? 4 dice stacked on edge. No magnets, just 4 dice. Well, this is when the obsession really kicked in. You see, I needed more dice. I needed a bigger cup. 9 dice. Count with me, please. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The incredible 9 dice stack of death. Thank you. Well, I gotta tell you, the hard part isn't really stacking the dice. The hard part is getting them in the cups with these big dice in there, this lemon in there, and this, and wait a second. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you also need this. Not to stack dice, because you should never stack dice in a clear cup. You need this to pour the juice out of the can. And say, cheers. Thank you.
Where did you come up with that?
I saw this a long time ago. It's an old etches, an old art, dice stacking. But when I first saw it, it was of a guy named Jim Zachary. And Jim was the first man to actually create an entire act out of dice stacking. And I was fortunate enough to become friends with him, and he actually taught me this act. So he actually made this cup. He made the half dice. The half dice was his idea. And unfortunately, right before I left Japan to come here, Jim passed away. So tonight became kind of a tribute to Jim. So Jim Zachary was the original dice stacking guy. Yeah, so thanks.
All right, well, let's go to the boys.
Okay.
Boys.
I love this. I love this so much. You know, I started out as a juggler.
Right.
And I love juggling. And I first saw dice stacking done by Eddie Fechter at the Forks Motel, Buffalo. Right. And I immediately bought his books on dice stacking, which are not the first books written on it, but I loved them, and I got the dice cup, and I got the dice, and I worked for so much longer than I want to admit for how little I'm able to do. So I think of everybody in here, someone who worked on it as much as everybody else loved it, I loved it even more. That stuff's really hard and really beautiful, and I find it so aesthetically pleasing. And I also love that for a lot of this, it's juggling masquerading as magic. We see guys all the time who are card mechanics. It's really nice to see a dice stacking mechanic and just laid out there as juggling. And the cups and balls ending for the final loads at the end is a really, really nice touch. But for me, all you need was a dice stacking, but that part of it is juggling, and I loved it, but I don't think you fooled us.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. It's been great being here.
So, do you know that they...
It was fun. I'm glad I got to come out here and do that. So.
Well, it was so entertaining. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks,
Steve
guys.
Marshall, ladies and gentlemen. That may be enough fantastic illusions for some other TV shows, but not here. We've got one more for you, a trick by the legends themselves, Penn and Teller.